When my wife died of lung cancer, the world went quiet in a way that gets under your skin. Not peaceful quiet, the kind that echoes through the walls, that makes you hear the clock ticking and realize time keeps moving even when you wish it wouldn't. The house felt too big, too empty. Every coffee cup, every open book she left behind became a reminder of what was gone. After the funeral, I couldn't take the city anymore. Every corner, every noise brought her back. So one morning, I packed what I had left into my old Ford F-150, closed the door behind me, and headed south. Florida. I didn't know what I was looking for, maybe peace, maybe just distance. 12 hours later, I found myself pulling into a place called Sunny Palms Estates, a gated community just outside Ocala. White fences, palm trees, perfectly cut lawns. And a big sign at the entrance that read, "A safe and respectful community, managed by Ravenwood HOA." I remember smiling. Safe. Respectful. That's what I wanted. I bought the first house I saw. Small, red tile roof, a porch big enough for 2 chairs and a cup of coffee. The first few weeks were quiet in the best way. I'd wake up early, brew coffee, sit on the porch, and watch sunlight pour through the palm fronds. In the evenings, I'd work on the old shed out back, hammering away until dusk. No traffic. No noise. No one bothering me. Just wind, and the sound of nails hitting wood. For the first time in months, I could breathe again. Then one day, my daughter Rachel called. She'd just finished her police training in Tallahassee and wanted to stay with me for a while before starting her post with the Marion County Sheriff's Office. I said yes before she even finished the sentence. When she showed up, I almost didn't recognize her. She was taller, stronger, had that look in her eyes, steady, focused, the kind people get when they've seen a bit more of the world than they should have. But underneath all that, I still saw my little girl, the one who used to hold my hand when she was scared of thunder. I didn't tell anyone in the neighborhood what she did for a living. Rachel just wanted peace. She said, "Let's just be normal for a bit, Dad." And for a while, that's exactly what we had. Until he showed up. It was a quiet afternoon. I was sweeping the porch when a white pickup rolled to a stop out front. On the side, stenciled in black letters, were the words, "HOA Enforcement." I thought it was just some kind of community inspector. A man got out, black tactical vest, khaki pants, mirrored sunglasses reflecting the Florida sun. He wore a cheap metal badge clipped to his chest, shiny but not official. He walked up, smiling in that fake polite way people do when they're trying to seem important. "Good afternoon, Mr. Morgan," he said. "Just checking your fence, looks a little higher than the regulation allows." I frowned. "What regulation?" He chuckled. "HOA rules. I'll send you a notice." "Nothing serious." I nodded, didn't argue. When he left, something about him didn't sit right. The way he moved, the way he talked, too confident, too casual. 2 days later, Rachel came home from the grocery store. I was in the kitchen when I heard a man's voice outside. I looked out the window. It was him, same vest, same fake badge. He was standing too close to her, smiling too wide. "Hey there," he said. "You must be Mr. Morgan's daughter." "I'm Officer Riker, HOA Enforcement." Rachel smiled, polite but firm. "Officer? Around here, that title means something real." He laughed a little too loud. "Just keeping things in order, ma'am." She said, "I can handle order myself, thanks." I watched him linger for a few seconds longer than necessary, then finally leave. But the way he looked at her, that wasn't a goodbye. That was a warning. 2 mornings later, I found a bright orange paper taped to my door. Notice of violation, unauthorized vehicle. I laughed. The vehicle in question was my own truck, parked in my own driveway. The next day, another one, trash bin visible from street. Then another. And another. By the end of the week, I had 4 violations. Every one of them signed, Officer Riker, HOA Enforcement. Rachel rolled her eyes. "Dad, he's just mad because I said no. He's trying to push your buttons. I said, I'll handle it. I gathered the papers, took photos, and headed to the HOA office. The office was inside the clubhouse, cold air, white walls, too clean to feel real. Behind the desk sat a woman with perfect hair and blood-red nails. Her nameplate read, Karen Doyle, Vice President. Good afternoon, Mr. Morgan. How can I help you? She said, voice sugar-sweet. I'm here about a man named Riker, I told her. He's posing as law enforcement and harassing my daughter. She smiled, tilting her head just slightly. Oh, Blake? He's one of our most dedicated volunteers. Must be a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I put the papers on the desk. He's been to my house 3 times this week and left 4 fake citations. Her smile didn't move. Maybe your daughter misunderstood his intentions. That word, intentions, hit me like a slap. I left the office without another word. Because right then, I realized she wasn't just covering for him. She was protecting him. That night, it rained. Rachel sat at the table, cleaning her badge, the golden letters catching the kitchen light. First day tomorrow, she said softly. I nodded, watching the rain roll down the window. You sure you want to wear the uniform out there? She smiled. Dad, if I have to hide who I am just to stay safe, then I don't deserve the badge. I didn't argue. But something deep down told me, tomorrow wasn't going to be just another day. The next morning was unnaturally quiet. No wind. No birds. Just that heavy stillness Florida gets before a storm. I was pouring coffee when I heard the sound of tires crunching gravel. A low hum I recognized immediately. I looked out the window. White pickup. HOA enforcement in bold black letters. My heart sank. Rachel, I said quietly, he's back. She was standing on the porch in full uniform, badge gleaming in the morning light. By the time I stepped outside, he was already out of the truck. Morning, Riker said, smirking. Nice costume. Rachel's voice was cold. This isn't a costume, Riker. You need to leave. Now. He laughed, loud and sharp. Oh, look at you trying to play tough. You think that badge makes you someone? I stepped between them. That's enough, I said. You're trespassing. Florida Statute 810.09, look it up. His grin vanished. You think your little homeowner rulebook scares me? He took a step closer. I saw his hand resting on his hip. Metal glinted in the sunlight. My stomach dropped. Don't do this, I said. But it was too late. He shoved me hard. I lost my footing on the wet porch and fell backward into the grass. Pain shot up my spine. By the time I looked up, he'd drawn a gun. A real one. Not a prop. The barrel was pointed at my daughter's face. I was still on the ground, soaked, my back screaming in pain. Riker stood over me, gun in hand, breathing heavy. You think you can threaten me? He barked. I run this neighborhood. Not you. Not her. The barrel of his gun swung toward Rachel. She didn't flinch. Didn't move. Didn't even blink. Drop the weapon, she said, calm, steady. Riker laughed. What, you gonna arrest me, sweetheart? Go ahead. Make my day. I opened my mouth to yell, but before a sound came out, Rachel moved. One step, then another, fast and clean. Her knee came up hard into his groin. He folded with a strangled sound. Before he could recover, she pivoted, driving her elbow straight into his jaw. Crack. The gun flew from his hand, landing in the grass. Rachel scooped it up, aimed down at him. Stay down, she ordered. You're under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon. But Riker wasn't done. Still half on his knees, he reached for a backup pistol on his belt. 1 second. That's all it took. Rachel fired. A single shot tore through the morning air. Riker screamed, clutching his thigh as blood spread across the grass. She didn't hesitate. "Deputy Rachel Morgan," she said into her shoulder mic, voice firm, controlled. "Badge 327. Officer involved shooting. One suspect down, firearm recovered. Request immediate backup at Sunny Palms Estates, off Route 301. Her voice didn't shake once. I sat up, breath caught somewhere between shock and pride. My daughter, my kid, had just faced down a man with a gun and done what needed to be done. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the neighborhood. Red and blue lights flashed against white fences and palm trees. Riker lay handcuffed in the grass, pale and bleeding, muttering nonsense. Rachel stood nearby, hands steady, eyes focused. A deputy ran up. "You okay, Morgan?" She nodded. "I'm fine." He drew first. I sat on the porch steps, back aching, watching it all unfold, the paramedics, the evidence markers, the photos. And through it all, I kept thinking one thing: it's finally over. But I was wrong. It was just beginning. That afternoon, detectives from Internal Affairs showed up. They took Rachel's body cam footage, my doorbell camera, and every violation notice Riker had issued in the past few months. By evening, the conference table at the sheriff's office was covered in fake paperwork. Dozens of citations, all signed Officer Riker. And then came the connection that changed everything. Riker wasn't just some rogue volunteer. He was related to someone inside the HOA. His emergency contact on record, Karen Doyle. The same Karen Doyle who smiled in my face and called him dedicated. The vice president of Ravenwood HOA. Turns out, Blake Riker was her stepson. She'd married his stepfather 2 years earlier. When investigators pulled phone records, the whole story spilled out in black and white. Text messages. Emails. Photos. One message from Riker read. "Rachel said no. Told me she's not interested." Karen's reply. "No one says no to my stepson. Deal with her. Find her, cite her. She'll cave eventually." That was it. The smoking gun, literally and figuratively. Within 24 hours, warrants were issued. The next morning, unmarked units surrounded the Ravenwood HOA office. Karen Doyle was let out in handcuffs, still insisting it was a misunderstanding. But the evidence spoke louder than she ever could. She was charged with conspiracy to commit harassment, aiding and abetting aggravated assault, and misuse of position under Florida HOA law. Each one a felony. Riker faced even worse. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, up to 15 years. Impersonating a law enforcement officer, 5 years. Armed trespass on occupied property, another 5. All told, he was looking at 25 years behind bars. That night, Sunny Palms Estates was silent again. But this time, it wasn't the kind of silence that crawls under your skin. It was peace. Real peace. Rachel and I sat on the porch together, the same porch where everything had gone down. The same spot where I'd hit the ground. I asked, softly, "Think we'll hear from them again?" She smirked. "Not for at least 25 years." I laughed, for real this time. And for the first time in what felt like forever, that laugh didn't feel forced. Over the next few weeks, the sheriff's department wrapped up the investigation. Turns out, Riker and Karen weren't just harassing us. They'd been targeting people, mostly women living alone, all over Sunny Palms. Fake fines, forged letters, made-up rules. They called it maintaining standards. But really, it was about control. One of our neighbors, a widow, said Riker had threatened to fine her for hanging an American flag on her porch. Another man said Riker told him his fence color didn't match the neighborhood's skin tone. That one stuck with me. Because the sign outside the gate had always said peace and respect. But now I knew that peace had always been for them, not for us. 2 months later, the trial began. Rachel testified. I sat in the back, hands clasped tight. The prosecutor asked, "Deputy Morgan, did the suspect point a firearm at you?" Yes, she said. A loaded Glock 19. And why did you fire your weapon? To stop an immediate threat, she replied. To save lives. When the defense tried to twist it, saying she'd overreacted, the judge cut in. She's the reason there aren't two funerals in this case. Move on. The courtroom went silent. Riker hung his head. Karen stared straight ahead, face pale, eyes empty. When the verdict came, it was swift. Blake Riker, guilty on all counts. Sentenced to 22 years in state prison. Karen Doyle, guilty on all counts. 14 years. No parole for the first 7. The gavel came down. 3 strikes of wood on wood. And just like that, it was over. But for me, real closure came later. When the noise stopped. No more threats. No more fake citations. No more pretending to be safe. Just peace. A few nights later, Rachel and I sat outside again. The air was warm, the sun dipping low behind the palms. The porch light cast a soft glow across her badge. I asked, "You ever think about what could have happened that day?" She took a breath. Every day. But if I had to do it again, I would. I nodded. You made me proud, kid. She smiled. You always say that, Dad. We sat there quietly, the kind of silence that finally meant something good. The neighborhood looked the same, white fences, trimmed lawns, still streets. But it felt different. Because peace earned through truth feels heavier. More real. That night, as the sky turned orange, I realized something. Justice isn't about badges or titles. It's about people who refuse to let fear win. My daughter reminded me of that. She reminded me that sometimes, the law doesn't knock gently. Sometimes, it kicks the door down. And when it does, you'd better believe justice answers. This is Color is Not a Crime. We tell real stories, about courage, about truth, and about the people who refuse to stay silent. If you believe justice doesn't need a title, just heart and courage. Like, subscribe, and share this story. Because somewhere out there, there's another Sunny Palms. And someone's still waiting to be heard.